Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
Doing great, Eric. Enjoying another fine day in August. How about you?
Yeah, we've got August heat. And last I saw, we've got a heat wave over most of the country. So everybody is dealing with higher than usual temperatures and humidity. And it's a little hard to want to get work done in weather like this, but you push through.
Yep. Still beats the winter.
Yes, it does. That's the one thing I always say about the heat. It may be difficult to deal with, but at least I don't have to shovel it.
That's right. Next time you put snow on the ground in February, remember today.
Right. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about sales. And most of us do not consider ourselves salespeople. But the fact is, almost everybody, no matter what your position is, whether you're an entrepreneur, an executive, you have sales as part of what you have to do. If you're looking for a job, you're selling yourself to potential employers. If you're working in a company and you're trying to make a proposal, for a project, you have to sell yourself and your project to your boss. If you're an entrepreneur, almost everything you have to do deals with sales because you need customers coming through the door. So whether or not we all have to dip our toe in more often than probably we're comfortable with. So today we're going to talk about making sales easier for the non-salesman.
Yeah, I mean, I like to use like a different term for sales. Sales is a dirty word for a lot of people. And it's really just a few bad people out there that give you the bad rap as far as pushy salespeople. But if you use the word development, so like for business development or employment development and so on and so forth, that's really what you're doing. Every business has to develop business, and sales is the way that they talk about it. But if you look at it in a different way, and another key word is if you change the S word sales to sharing, that's what you're doing. Because one of the keys that I know that we're going to talk about is talking benefits rather than commodities that you're selling, because everybody cares about what's it going to do for you rather than what are you selling today, because we talk about it a lot that unless you're looking for something specific today, you're not going to be interested unless you are looking for something specific. But you do like to hear about the benefits of things out there, and that's a whole lot more likely to at some point in time get you to want to buy it.
That's absolutely right. And what you're talking about using terms like business development and sharing, what we're really getting at is a shift in your mindset. Because yes, we've just gotten the word sales into a bad place. But sales is part of business and everybody needs to do it. And the first thing we need to do, especially as non salespeople, is to shift our mindset to stop thinking of that as a dirty word, because that's really a major factor in what holds us back. Well, we associate sales with, the stereotypical used car salesman, and we don't want to be thought of like that. And it makes you feel a little dirty to do things like that. We have to shift our mindset because without sales, without customers, your business goes under.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, what you're trying to do, if you've put your business together correctly, or even if someone else owns the business and you work there, if you believe in what the company is doing, then you have to believe that you are helping your customers. Well,
Yeah.
sales is how you let them know that, yes, this is what we do. This is what's in it for you. This is how we can solve your problem. And that phrase is big for non salespeople to embrace. What you're trying to do is solve people's problems.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you and I are both in the business services business. And I really like the word consultants because the bottom line is every consulting job that you or I do starts with a free consultation, which is just a series of questions that you ask people to get them to understand what you're doing, but also how you might help them out. So it's a really, really good thing for especially larger companies who are training their people to help people out on the phones and so on and so forth, is to kind of turn them more into consultants just to by getting them to ask the proper questions when they're talking to people. Because consulting, basically what you're doing is you're giving people free information about the benefits of what you're doing just by asking questions. So if you look at that initial session with people as really an assessment where you're going to be offering free consulting services for benefits, that's a great way to take the first step there.
That's absolutely right. And it's not even just that first meeting, especially if you're in customer service, if you're an account executive, anywhere that you are servicing a client, you need to understand that client. And to do that, you're asking questions to figure out exactly what that problem is, but you're also figuring out how to solve it. And when you're dealing with someone on a regular basis, they may have signed up with your company for a specific service or product, but over the course of time, as you're getting to know what it is they do, what it is they need, you're in a position to say, wait a minute, you're getting great results with this, but there's still these outstanding problems. We've got other things that we can talk about that'll help you out with those. And I mean, it's in sales terminology, it's called an upsell. But again, what you're really doing is trying to make yourself invaluable to your client. Or actually, I should rephrase that because, and I actually just wrote an article about that. You're actually not trying to make yourself invaluable. You are trying to put yourself out of business because you want to solve their problem. If they no longer have that problem, ostensibly they won't need that service anymore. However, no business ever has all their problems go away. So when you get rid of one, there's always another way to help that client.
And one of the benefits, as far as that goes, if you do solve the problem, when you are training your people who are not the salespeople, is once they've solved that problem for you, even though you don't need it anymore, it's a great opportunity for you to ask for referrals to somebody else who could use the same type of help. So that is one of the ways to leverage what you're doing once you have a satisfied client is to ask for referrals for somebody else.
Right. And yeah, I know for a lot of people, asking for referrals is uncomfortable. And it goes back to that mindset switch we have to do where sales stops being a dirty word. But if you're not comfortable asking for referrals, think of it another way. Ask for introductions. Essentially say, you know, we've been working on this problem. You know, a lot of folks, if you know people that have similar problems, I would love an introduction to them because maybe we can help them too. So you're shifting that mindset away from asking for the sell, and you're focusing on the problem solving aspect of it. I find for a lot of folks, myself included, because I am definitely not a salesperson, it makes it a lot easier asking to meet somebody. If you happen to know somebody that fits these criteria, I'd love to talk to them. And
Yeah.
you're not asking for a sale. I also find it makes the customer more likely to help because he now doesn't feel like he's trying to sell for you. He's just trying to introduce people.
Yeah, and another real good one that I came up with uh, is the old ask for help scenario. And the bottom line is this is for people who are uncomfortable or kind of new doing what they're doing and so on and so forth. if you just lay it out on the line that you're brand new, and you can say basically that you're a little bit nervous about what you're doing right now, about getting sales and so on and so forth, and enlist their help in explaining their needs or in helping you out with that. If you put them in a position where they're the ones that are really helping you out, and yet you're the one trying to get the sales, that's a great way to turn the tables around and help yourself out. As far as you can even get bold enough in saying if they'd be willing to be your first sale. I have never got a sale before. And the bottom line is, if you have a fun personality and you can read the person on the other side of the phone, it's a great way to break the ice. And in a lot of ways, you can get a new customer that way.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to do it. It tends to make people more comfortable. Again, that anti-sales mindset is so important to overcome. And all of these things are ways to work around that. But also the way you're trying to sell. When you're not a salesperson, you tend to default back to sales 101 essentially and be a salesperson. But if you're not comfortable doing that, that comes out and the potential customer is not comfortable with it. So you need to find ways that you are comfortable with. And one of the great things you can do if you are working with customers is to actually write down how you are helping your existing customers. And I'm not talking about listing, well, I do these 8 things for my customers. Do it as a story. Focus on one customer and write down their story, what the problem they were having is, how you were able to help, what kind of results they got after you helped. And then use that story and tell that story to potential clients. Because now you're just sharing information. You're sharing what happened in this situation. It's a lot less salesy. It's a lot easier for most of us to do. And it also gives concrete examples of what's in it for them, which, let's face it, that's what every potential client wants to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can just ask your customer open-ended questions about what they like about your products and then write down the answers for that, obviously it's going to give you a little bit more confidence in doing what you're doing. It gives testimonials about what you're doing to other clients as you were talking about. And the bottom line is the more questions that you can ask people to get them to answer it. And it's the same thing in networking. The best way, even if you're shy, to start a networking relationship is just to ask somebody a question. Hello, how you doing today? And let them talk. Because one of the things people love to do the most is just talk. And if you have them actually, again, helping you out just by answering questions about what you're doing for them and that kind of thing, that works magic, especially when you're talking about the benefits of them doing business using your products.
Yes, and keep asking questions. Um, Expert salespeople know this, that they know that they need to be asking and letting the customer talk more than they're talking. They need to be able to get as much information as possible from the customer. So let them lead you. Ask the questions and don't be afraid that asking too many questions makes it look like you don't know what you're doing. Quite the contrary. It makes it so that you're not taking them for granted and you are working to learn exactly what they need before you're deciding, oh, well, this is what's right for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the phrase offering the fries. How many times have we gone to restaurants, especially fast food and stuff like that, and you order your burger or whatever, and they say, "Would you like French fries with that? How about a milkshake?" Basically, it's a form of upselling, but it increases the price tag of what you're doing. And really, the best way to train for this in whatever business that you're doing is to list what the standard product or service is that you're doing, but what goes good with it. And again, just by asking your customer questions, they're going to learn about all these other different things that you can do for them based upon what you're trying to talk to them about in the first place. And chances are you're going to increase your sales just by giving them so-called options on different things. So offering the fries is a good term to keep in mind as far as when you're talking to potential clients about what you do. It's having all the different things that you can talk to them about. And it's a great way for those of you folks who own businesses and are training these people who are new salespeople, have that list right in front of them so that they have that there when they're talking to potential clients over the phone or face to face.
Yes, giving them the options. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter how long somebody has known you, has been involved with your company, if they've just heard of you, nobody actually knows all of the things that you can offer them, especially since most businesses retire old services, bring in new products, and change over time. So being able to say, I know we were started talking about this, but you keep mentioning this issue. We've got something that might help you with that. And you can take it in that other direction to show them, yes, we don't just offer that one service that you know about. There's all these other things we can add on to that and customize it to really fit your needs. And that's really the key, because a customer wants to feel that you are solving their problem, you are meeting their needs, and they want to know that you're not taking a standard product and trying to fix every need with that one product. There's an old saying, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And the customer's problems are not all the same. So you can't take the same process, the same product, and solve all of them. So by showing that you've got the versatility and you've got these different options, it's a great way to make people feel more comfortable about buying from you, because they know you're not trying to shoehorn a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah, another tip out there, this is called discovery. The bottom line is most people love to talk. However, every once in a while, you might run into a scenario where you're talking to somebody and there's just silence, either face to face or on the other end of the phone. And what this principle of discovery, this gentleman wrote the article about, said is what you should do is write down a series of 2 or 3 questions that you can just ask them out of the blue to engage them. And the bottom line is we talk about people liking to deal with people that they know, they like, and they trust. So just asking them a question to get them talking about something that they may be interested in is a great way to do it. And it could be something like, do you like to read books, or do you like to, go on vacation, or do this or that and whatever, or, do you have children? What are they up to these days? If you can get them talking about things, obviously it's eventually going to lead back to whatever you're talking about as far as potentially doing business with each other. But in the same time, they're really going to start liking you, and trust comes with liking just because you show interest in what they're doing and get them talking about other things. And you're also making them feel a lot more comfortable and getting them to talk about something when they're out of words about what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's all part of making your potential customer comfortable with you. And that's something else that non-salespeople really need to remember, is that customers buy on their own timetable, on their own schedule. And the last thing they want to feel is that you're trying to push them into a sale that they're not really ready for. So you have to let a sales relationship take time and run its course. If you're selling something small, it could be a day or two. If you're selling something big, it could be months or even years from the time you start talking to this person to the time they're ready to buy. So you have to be very patient, and you have to let them sell, buy on their schedule. And
Yeah,
you know, for salespeople, that becomes very difficult when sales managers or upper management start putting quotas on and saying, well, you have to sell this many in this amount of time. That's where that sales is a dirty word starts coming in. So let it take the time it needs. So, and another thing is when you're taking that time, you're building the relationship. It's about it's about getting to know them, get getting to understand them, and really being able to fix the problem that they have. So it's very important that you let it take the time it's going to take and build that relationship and not make the person feel that you're trying to push them into a sale or rush them. Because again, as I said earlier, they're going to buy on their schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, when you're going into quote unquote sales, preparation is a key part of this. And this is what you need to do when you're starting a business, also. But the bottom line is, you have to identify who's your target audience, who are the people that you're dealing with. When you're looking at a consumer, it could be a type of person. When you're looking at a company, it could be the title of the person in that company who you have to get to. Obviously, sometimes you're dealing with techno speak with people, and sometimes you aren't. You have to know when and when not to use that when you're talking with people. Um, Again, we can't emphasize enough, you're talking benefits, not items. And it's really, really important. Again, to the most important thing is, what are the needs of your target audience, and that's what you have to address. So the preparation is a key part of that, and the more of these things you can identify up front in writing so that you understand exactly what you're doing, the easier it's going to be for you. And if you are teaching employees to do this for your company and you have these things identified for them, it's going to help the whole cause that way.
So part of that preparation really does have to be about who you're selling to. We should have, and we've talked about this in the past, a customer avatar, someone that this is the type of person who's going to buy your product or service. And over the course of your conversation with potential customers, you should be able to tell, well, wait a minute, this person doesn't really fit that pattern, that avatar. So maybe they're not the right prospect. And at that point, you really should, sort of step back. If there's another way you can help them, that's great. But don't think of them as a sales prospect at that point. So we're coming up on the end of our time. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway that our listeners need to have from this?
It's really all in the approach as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, you have to do your preparation work so you can understand your potential clients and understand the benefits of what you're offering them, because that's the most important thing to talk about. But if you can turn the S word into sharing and just understand that really you're acting more as a consultant rather than a salesperson, and listen to what their needs are, get their reactions on different things. It's all in the approach. And if you put the more time you put into that, preparing and in the approach, realizing that you're sharing solutions rather than products and services, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, I think for me, the big takeaway is making that shift in the mindset that what you're doing is not dirty. Sales is not a dirty word, it's a necessary part of business. And when you think of it as trying to solve your customers' problems, it becomes a lot easier. And again, making these tasks easier for ourselves is key because we all have to sell at some point. As I said earlier, if it's selling yourself to a potential employer, selling a product or service for your company, selling your business, We all have that situation where we have to sell something. So becoming more comfortable with it, that's a necessary first step. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us on the Apple Podcasts app, the iTunes Store, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. See you then.